Hi, my name is Gail Van Gils, and I'm here to talk to you today about mindfulness. This is a subject that's pretty near and dear to my heart. I've been practicing and teaching mindfulness in the context of business for many years, and I think it's really important, and I'm happy to share it with you today. So first of all, what does mindfulness mean? Mindfulness actually refers to an innate capacity that we all have to be present, to be attentive, to choose where we place our attention. And that mindfulness happens in a context of awareness that also comes along from a practice that I'll tell you about in a moment. So mindfulness is actually similar to the attention of somebody playing the violin. They need to know their notes. They need to know exactly focused on what they're doing. But if they're in an orchestra, which of course we're all in an orchestra when we're at work, we also have to be aware of the other musicians or our coworkers or the context of what we're doing. So mindfulness is this ability to hone in on what is actually happening in the present moment in the context that it's happening in. We can practice how to get better at this innate capacity through various means. Some people do yoga, some people count their breaths, some people focus on a particular object. In the context of the way that mindfulness is generally worked with in businesses, we use the breath as our focus, as our object of meditation. And so why do we use the breath? We use the breath, first of all, because it's just natural to us. We always have our breath. In any situation, we can stop. Take a breath. Get present to what's happening. Let go of some of that stress and agitation. And if you practice meditation, which is practicing returning to the feeling of your breath, returning from your distracted thoughts that are pulling you away, if you practice how to return to the moment without judging yourself for being wrong, for having wandered off into the past or the future, well, then you have that ability when you are under fire in a work situation. So one of the things that mindfulness will do for you that's really, really helpful at work is help you be aware before you explode, before you say something you wish you hadn't said, or push that send button on an email too quickly. It will help you to feel what you're feeling. And when you can feel what you're feeling, then you don't have to react to it. You can actually just be with it, and you'll realize that actually feelings dissipate, and it may only take a few breaths. This kind of activity of being able to pause, to center, to become grounded is needed all the time, but particularly when we're triggered in an exchange with a colleague, or maybe in a negotiation with a client. We can sense when our own personal needs are arising, or when our fear is arising. And when fear arises, we actually go into this sort of reactive mode that has to do with the hormones that were triggered when we were cavemen. I mean, this primitive part of our brain, and it's located in primarily in an area called the amygdala. This primitive part of our brain actually gets us ready for action, gets us ready for battle. And it shuts down our cognitive thinking at that moment because we don't need to be rationally thinking, we need to be running. So what happens is we run into this situation, we open our mouth, we push the send button, we say something we wish we hadn't. If you can just practice this very simple skill of taking a few mindful breaths, returning to a natural, grounded state that's available to you when you take those breaths, you create that little gap where you don't have to react and where you actually open back into that space of awareness. There's another person here. What are their needs? What question could I ask that might move this discussion forward rather than making the other person feel shut down? So this practice of mindfulness has so very many applications at work, and I'm really excited to be engaged in this field and to have the opportunity to present these tools to you. Thank you for listening.